What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Tottenham Online. It is Tottenham 2, Brentford 0. Tottenham go on the road to Brentford and win 2-0. Honestly, when it was 1-0, getting towards the end of the game, I was like, it'd be very disappointing if they were to score late, which honestly I was kind of assuming the way Brentford were attacking. We had almost zero possession the entire second half. I thought we would probably come away with a 1-1 draw. I was honestly going to be disappointed just because, we went up 1-0, but ultimately happy with that. Given Brentford's form at home, they're an incredibly good team at home. They've been a little lackluster recently, but still, this is just a very, very strong home team. Honestly, we go up 1-0 in the 29th minute. Heung-min Son, it's considered an own goal, but just where Son puts that ball, it's I can't speak today. Where Son puts that ball, it's kind of like the what do they call it, the Olympiacos, or is that the Greece team? You know what I'm talking about. He puts that ball in the perfect area. We're finally putting bodies on the goalie. This is what teams like Arsenal and Man City do, and I think that's a big thing. I think we really need to learn from our rivals. I think people look at Arsenal as the dark arts and this toxic team and all that, but they do a lot of stuff that's extremely effective. They put balls in dangerous areas. They have bodies on the goalie because that ball really, if there's not a body on him, that's an easy catch for the goalie every time. I don't care who's in goal. That's an easy ball. But I think it was Basuma backing into him on that goal. So it just shows how effective that can be when you finally start getting dangerous balls into the box off corners, which we don't really do too much. But today, Heung-min Son was just beautiful, just putting balls in the box consistently. Almost scored on another one there late before Pape Matar scored that second goal, which Son also assisted in. But we'll go through that in player ratings. Son was just brilliant again today. I actually have a note of him. We'll go through it. We'll go through it. But anyway, we'll do match facts first. Possession here. It's a little tighter than I thought, considering we basically had 2% possession the entire second half. But it's pretty close overall. We really started coming back there towards the end of the second half, getting control of the game defensively and offensively. Jed Spence doing a great job at left back today, really controlling Mbuemo and really controlling the offense as a whole. He's great. Again, I'm jumping ahead of myself getting into player analysis, but Jed Spence was great today. Shots on target, we only had the two. One I think was a long range, and then obviously the Pape Matar goal. So not a ton of creativity, and again, that's where we're going to be lacking. We just don't have a ton of creativity in this team. I think Maddison, when he's at his best, that's where the creativity comes from. Moore's a young kid. Obviously, Dane Scarlett, we have a lot of kids in the team. Heung-min Son's been our most creative, but even then, he kind of disappears for long portions of the game. So clearly, that's our biggest hurdle to overcome right now. Total shots, Brentford have 19. I'd say, they had 4 on target. I'd say probably all 15 of those were blocked outside of, a couple of wild and Mbuemo chances there. Touches about even, passes about even, tackles about even. Clearances, obviously we're playing a ton of defense there, so our clearances are off the chart, 50-11. So that just shows the kind of defense we're playing. And whenever Tottenham get a shutout, especially again on the road against Brentford, that's huge. Any clean sheet for this team is huge. No Mickey Van de Ven today, which we'll go into when we get to the Ange analysis. I like that choice overall. Corners. It doesn't really seem like that, but Brentford 10 to our 3. It didn't really seem like Brentford had 10 corners. Maybe they just weren't doing a ton with them. And our 3 corners just felt a lot more dangerous. Obviously, we score off one of them. We almost score off that one late with Heung-min Son. And then limited offsides, that's usually not coming into play. But our first win, I think they were saying we have 5 points before this win, 5 points from our last 30-something, 33. So that's 5 points in 11 games. So getting 3 points on the road against Brentford, that's huge. That is huge. So, yeah, we can get in the lineup today. Kinski obviously starting. I think Vicario is a game away. He's going to be on Thursday. This is going to be a completely different team. This lineup that you see now, it is going to be completely different from what we're going to see on Thursday because I think you have Vicario here. Archie Gray, Pedro Porro, Jed Spence, Ben Davies. I don't know if we'll see Romero. They keep talking about Romero kind of being a week away for the last few weeks. I think his motivation's pretty low. I think he's probably gone at the end of the season, and he just doesn't seem he just doesn't have the motivation to come back. Now maybe he will for a semifinal. Maybe he will once we get in to the Europa last 16. We will see about that. But Jed Spence has been brilliant today. Pedro Porro, all right. But again, let's just jump in. Let's just jump into the player ratings. I'm clearly itching to get into it, so we're gonna switch over here. Here we go. Player rating. So let's start with Mikey Moore. He just played the first half and then he gets subbed for Bergvall. He was okay for me. He's a kid. I think they said he's 17 and a half, which whenever you're counting half years, you're young. So 17 and a half. I'll give him a 6.5 just because of that. He was okay. He had a couple good runs. Obviously, he's showing flashes, and that's what's really important at his age, showing that he has the capability to pull off some of the stuff that we need to see from him. Basuma about the same. I would say maybe 6.5 as well. I don't know, man. Basuma's he's very up and down, and we just don't really get the best from him as often as you would like. So yeah, I think 6 probably. I think Mikey Moore was a bit better. Pedro Porro about the same. I think he's just tired. The legs are just gone. He doesn't have that whip on his shot anymore. Last year when you were seeing him just launching balls into the top corner, his crossing was brilliant. His defense has always been a bit suspect, but I think overall he was solid last year. You just don't really see too much of that anymore, at this late stage in the season. So hopefully that comes back. Hopefully, I think over the summer he'll get a break. There's no Euros, there's no World Cup, there's nothing crazy. We're not in the Club World Cup, thank God. So I think he's going to get a break over the summer, and you're going to see a different player next year. Bentancur, one of my favorite players. I will always be partial to Bentancur. I think he really started showing who he is in the second half today. I'd say probably about a 7.5 for Lolo. Again, one of my favorite players. I think he could be an absolute stud in this team. He just needs to stay healthy. He just needs to get game time. He's a guy that hasn't had a ton of game time because of the ACL, because of, what was his second injury? Ankle, and then obviously the concussion. No Romero today. Dane Scarlett comes on, but whatever, he didn't have a ton of time. He was kind of just running around on the press, which you need late in the game. You need fresh legs to be able to press and kind of burn time. So 6.5 for him. Pape Matar, absolutely electric. Again, obviously one of the favorite players. He's kind of up and down as well recently. I think really his whole career, I think he's been up and down. The end of last year, he was genius, but I think he kind of goes in lulls and kind of disappears every now and then. He's a 9 for me today. Obviously, the goal, his engine is just nonstop. This guy's stamina is off the charts. The way he's picking up the ball in the midfield, moving it around, hold-up play, everything about him was just superb today. Bergvall, again, another guy with an extremely high engine, and I think this is why we're picking up a lot of kids, because we're starting to realize that, spending 70 million on Richarlison, a guy who's kind of burnt out at an Everton type club, just isn't what we really need. That's not really how you build a team. If you go look, there's a great infographic online of the 10 most expensive Premier League transfers of all time. And I think one of them, it's Virgil van Dijk. I think that's the only good transfer that's over 60, 70 million. So this is perfect. I think this is where you build your team around guys like Pape Matar, guys like Bergvall, Mikey Moore, and then obviously every now and then if you supplement with 40, 50 million dollar players, that's how you build a team. So a lot of guys here that haven't played. Obviously, it's always depressing looking at this, the not applicable list here at the bottom, because that just shows our extensive injuries. No Solanke. Davis, solid. He's always solid. This guy's just a consistent 7. I'd probably put him at 7.5. He gets that weird foul at the very end and gives them a pretty dangerous free kick. We were up 2-0 at that point, and I think it was by the time they took it, 91st, 92nd minute of 4 minutes of extra time. So even if that goes in, I don't really think it does too much for Brentford. It kind of just kills the clean sheet and kind of kills the vibes of a 2-0 win. So rock solid as always. I have no complaints ever about Davies. Archie Gray, I think just because of his age, I'm going to bump him up to an 8. I'd say probably 7, 7.5. Just considering this isn't even his natural position. This kid is really, we brought him in to be a midfielder. I think he's played left back, right back, center mid, and I think he's even come in midfield. So obviously, if you don't love Archie Gray, I don't think you know what you're talking about. But Archie Gray, great, solid, clean sheet, easy 8. Same thing with Kinski, up to 8. Brand new in the Premier League, another young guy just getting thrown right into the fire because obviously Vicario goes down, Forrester goes down, Brandon Austin's playing in Europa League. Kinski solid today, sun in his face. If you've never played sports with sun directly in your face, it is extremely hard, especially when a corner's coming in, a ball's being lobbed up, you're staring directly into the sun and having to play a ball like that. So, obviously didn't have a crap ton to do, but 8 from me, easy. Jed Spence, I think he goes up here at 8.5, 9. Jed Spence was brilliant today. If he can keep playing like this, if he can keep getting better, you have to remember that Jed Spence doesn't really have a lot of game time the last 2 years. He came from Nottingham Forest under Conte, so that would be 2.5 years ago, I think. And he's only played like 10 games, maybe not even that. So this is a guy playing with limited experience. He's Premier League proven, from Nottingham Forest, but still, no experience in an upper echelon team. Even though we're 15th, we are still a big 6. So given the lack of game time he's had in the last 2.5 years, it's extremely impressive what he's doing. He's what Udogie was last year. So if just one of them can maintain that type of form, I think we're set at the fullback position there. Richarlison, I think, I don't really know what he offers. I think it's a bit harsh maybe, but I'm going to go 5.5. So I'm going to throw him down in 5. He just doesn't do anything for me. He always looks nervous on the ball. He always looks like he's kind of stretching, kind of just uneasy, not sure what to do. So I'm going to put him at 5. He just, he's great in the air. He's a bit chaotic and doesn't really offer a ton in any phase of the game. So Richarlison probably the lowest rated player by a lot there, unfortunately. So Solanke coming back is obviously huge, and that's where people who weren't big Solanke fans, you can see the difference. You can see what people are talking about when they're praising Solanke's hold-up play, his ability to link up, in the midfield and all that. Richarlison just doesn't offer any of that. Heung-min Son, it's funny, I have in my notes that Son, 25 minutes in, I just had written him off. I said he was out of it in the entire first half, and then obviously he puts in a brilliant ball. He gets an assist for Pape Matar for the second goal, so completely contributes to the entire win, basically. And then started heating up a bit one-on-one. That's obviously where Son's the best. One-on-one, cutting inside. I think people are finally starting to understand that you need to have someone step out on him when he cuts inside to curl that. But Son, club legend, 8, easy. Kulishevsky, what's there to say? 8.5. I could probably put him up at 9. He's not 10. Wasn't that good. Need a goal, at least one goal or an assist to get 10. Hold up play. His touching, that sounds weird. His touches, everything. There was a ball, I forget who played it up the middle. I think it was Bergvall. It was an absolute lightning bolt. And Decky just flicks his heel back and almost plays it perfectly in front of him to have a run on goal. Just stuff like that. There's no one else in the team that has the capability that he has. Clearly the most talented player in this team. Just the workhorse, the guy who really drives this team. The hold-up play is excellent. Just everything about Decky is so good. So those are the player ratings. Again, as we talked about in the Europa League, whenever you see a clumping like this, I think you probably won the game. So it's good to see that. And there's a lot of kids in here. Kinski, Gray, Mikey Moore, Bergvall, Saar. I would even consider Jed Spence a kid. Dane Scarlett down here. So we have a huge list coming back. Thursday, absolutely massive game. Like I said, I think this entire team is going to be changed. I think you're going to have Vicario back. I think you're going to have Mickey back. Romero, I would hope, can make it for a semifinal, up 1-0 against Liverpool. If we need a rock-solid defense, if we can only give up one goal in that game, I think that's the target. just hold Liverpool to 1 goal and hope that we can score just one, or that at least takes us to penalties. At the very worst, giving up just 1 goal takes us to penalties. So, this team is going to be radically different, and I think that's one of the challenges that Ange really has, to get into the Ange analysis of, a cohesive unit. That's what Liverpool does very well. They don't have a ton of injuries. They have a very cohesive unit. Salah is always playing with Szoboszlai, with Van Dijk, with Trent, who Trent is, might be out, so that helps us. But the cohesive unit going into that game, if it's Romero's first game in since the Chelsea game a month or two ago, if it's Van de Ven's only second game in a few months, Vicario's first game in months. So that's going to be the real challenge, is kind of hoping these guys are fully up to speed. And I think that's why Ange kept Van de Ven out today, just to kind of get him up to speed and make sure that all the boys are healthy, all the boys are fresh, get them another week of training, and keep them ready for the Liverpool game. So that is it from me. Tottenham 2, and here we go, we're getting into meta. Tottenham 2, Brentford 0, on the road, huge 3 points. As the fans were chanting, that keeps us out of relegation, which is never going to happen, let's be real. We're never going to get relegated, but that keeps us out of the relegation conversation, I think. Anything in the league, really, as I've said before, I'm a bit apathetic about the league. I was extremely happy about the win today. Surprised myself how happy I was with that win. But, just great to see it. Great to see the form coming back. Great to see the passion from, Porro at the end of the game, Son and Sarr and everyone like that. So everything now is just aesthetic for the league. Just, maybe getting the top half would be nice, but it doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't get you in the Conference League or Europa League or anything like that. So we're really fighting in the Cups, fighting in Europa League. That's the focus. Thursday, Liverpool, up 1-0 at Anfield. That's the focus. That's it for me. That's it for Tottenham Online. I will see you guys on Thursday, hopefully, with a match reaction of Tottenham going to a Carabao Cup final, probably against Newcastle, because they're up 2-0. So that's it from me. Like and subscribe. See you guys on Thursday.